Hey everyone, this is JP from UpCredit. We wanted to do an interview because we recently signed a partnership with GloboBanks, and so I think this is very interesting for people that are looking to access U.S. credit that are non-U.S. citizens, business owners. Also, a lot of our clients, they like to ask, okay, how do I send money from the United States outside of the U.S.? How does that essentially look like? And so the reason why we started this partnership is because we had a lot of clients that were asking these questions. And so, our solution here is to help non-citizens get credit, but definitely looking forward to see how this chat goes. And so we have Matteo on the line right now. He's going to be taking care of the interview, but if you want to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Jean-Paul, and nice to meet. Hi to everyone. Here's Matteo. I'm partnership manager in GloboBanks. That, like you said, is the global company specialized in opening international bank accounts for U.S. citizens and non-U.S. citizens, 100% remotely. So we have partnership with more than 60 banks institutions all over the world, in Europe, Middle East, South and North America, Asia, etc. And we can open accounts remotely for corporate accounts or also individual accounts. So depending on the needs of the client, we can introduce you, because our niche is like what we do is banking introducers. So ourselves are not the bank. We're not to make the due diligence of the banks, but we're going to introduce you via preferred channel, so the banks knows you and believes in you because the banks believe in us. So we are going to introduce you with better benefits that we are going to see now in the video interview. And thank you for having me here. So yeah, cool.
Awesome, yeah. And so I think that the idea of introducing someone into a institution is honestly something that most business owners should always keep in mind. Like, for example, with us as well, we introduce our clients into credit card companies because they already know that our clients are spending 5 figures or 6 figures in spend. In many cases, they're able to secure net 30 or net 60 accounts quite quickly because they understand that we're at that point. But let me start with the first question. I'll ask you some questions, and then Matteo will also ask me a few questions. So I'm just curious, how was GloboBanks born?
Well, GloboBanks was born because we used to have a marketing agency, in the last few years. And, lots of our clients were people, entrepreneurs, six-figure entrepreneurs with e-commerces and these kind of companies with offshore and international banks. So they used to ask us in the consultation, etc. Oh, I need a bank account because this bank doesn't allow me to do these things or doesn't give me the debit card, for example, etc. So me and my team started to traveling, all over the world and start make a partnership with the banks. And in last years, like I said, we had more than 60 signed partnership with bank institutions. So everything started with just a needs of our clients, and in the years became like a brand, an international brand, and a global company that today we have lots of people inside the company, etc. We helped hundreds of entrepreneurs all over the world. So everything started by a need and transformed in a real company.
Awesome. That's really cool how you guys package everything all together. And I personally have not seen a solution like this one, which is very interesting, especially types of clients that, for example, they work a lot with crypto, or they just have a foreign entity and they're looking to receive cash in their home country. Or like, how does that look like, especially now that a lot of people are working online? Many cases, a lot of people have like remote companies or like companies that are corporated in other foreign countries, right? And that basically creates that like next problem, which is like, how do I receive money into my home country, or how does that look like specifically? But yeah.
Yeah, correct. Everything started by a need, of the clients, because a lot of them had like a international company, in a place where they are no residents. So they don't know how to open usually accounts in banks where they are not resident there, because maybe a person from Italy with a US LLC doesn't know how to open an account for this company, for example, or people with very specific needs, because maybe the business is not a risk, but is not so very well seen by the banks. So they made like lots of applications online by themselves, and all the applications are rejected. And this is very bad in banking side, because you think that maybe banks don't talk between them. but the banks share the information of the clients, you know. So if you're going to make an application in one bank and this application is going to be rejected, and you try in the future to open another bank, this bank during the due diligence is going to see if you already had like a declined application from another bank. And if they see that yes, it's very probably that they are going to reject also your new application in this new bank. So lots of international entrepreneurs don't know how to open accounts, don't know where the banks are better, for example, and this is very important. Is for this that is very important to go with an introducer, you know, because an introducer know very well the banks, know very well the people that work inside all the banks where we work with, and can introduce you in the proper bank that better fits for you, you know, because not all people are the same, because maybe a company needs, like you said, to receive money in crypto. So you need a crypto-friendly account that doesn't close the account after a few days because you're just receiving payments from, for example, exchanges. Some people need to receive money internationally because maybe you have an international bank. And you know, there are some places and countries where you can't, you can receive money from other places or the jurisdictions, but maybe they're going to make you lots of questions. They ask you to send documentation, and maybe in the future they also can freeze your account, etc. So it's very important to understand all the needs and be introduced in the right and proper bank that better fits for you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that whole idea of introductions, especially in foreign countries, is like a very big value add, especially from my past, like being in Dubai, realizing that like just zero taxes is not really like the end goal. Like along with zero taxes, there's the banking, there's the credit, there's all of these other elements that people start to realize that just because you moved your residency to a new country does not mean that now you have the absolute freedom. You also have to think about, okay, well, now you're in a new country. How does that look like with banking? Even though you don't want to move to a different country, and many of my clients are based in Europe, or they based in the Middle East or in Canada, and they want to create more of an international structure where, for example, they might not have the certain restrictions that are inside of their home country. They want to have a bit more freedom, let's say, or reduce their taxes. So yeah, I think that's really cool. All right, so let me talk a bit more about UpCredit. So essentially, regarding the types of services that we provide, and mostly just like the education that we try to focus on, it's kind of routed based on my journey being a non-US citizen, moving out of Canada because I'm a Canadian citizen. And essentially what happened is that I moved to Dubai as a tax-free resident, essentially. And if anyone doesn't know about my past, I used to work with Andrew Tate, right? So I moved to Dubai to be able to be around them. And eventually, as I parted ways with them as a salesperson, then I started realizing, well, I need to start a business. So I ended up starting some kind of a marketing business with like very high-end clients, with some clients such as Charles Schroeder and Justin Waller. And throughout that process, trying to figure out what specific type of use case should I be providing to like more consumers, let's say. So while I was going through this journey, I realized that just 0% taxes is not really the end goal. You also want to have things like financial flexibility that essentially means like access to credit, right? So if I wanted to purchase a property, if I wanted to make an investment, if I wanted to be able to have better cash flow. I see a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs or different entrepreneurs that run their own businesses. They know that just because they received a payment does not mean that you have the cash in your account right away. And that's the whole point of having like net 60 or net 30 accounts. And also realizing that you can have a Dubai company or you can have a foreign company, but with that foreign company, you can also get a US LLC as a pass-through entity into your main company, which essentially the whole point of the US LLC is to unlock things like payment processors, credit, and banking in the United States, which by the way is very significant. Like I have to always say this, but in the United States, if you were to take the same person and you were kind of to the reflect it and say how much credit would someone outside the US access and how much credit would someone in the US access if they have a US credit card and if they don't have a US credit card. If someone has a US credit card, you're getting on average 8 times more capital on that same credit card. So say you have the same person that's making $30,000 or $50,000 a year. they're getting on the US side with the US credit card 8 times more available capital. Not only that, the redemptions, which is a huge deal. Like we have clients that are spending 6 figures monthly and they're using debit cards or some Revolutes or Wise credit cards, and that is like already a huge amount of cashback or rewards that you could be getting. So I tell most people, like, if you're spending 5 figures a month, you should be leveraging credit cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Amex Gold so that you can be able to scale the business and have business class flights paid by the banks and basically pretty much all of your lifestyle expenses paid by the banks in that context. So yeah, let me ask you another question. So how do banking introductions work?
Banking introduction is a like very old profession, you know, because it was born like, for example, with Swiss banks 200 years ago, you know, because where internet didn't exist, etc., people used to go to the bank physically, you know, and start applications, etc. But banks had a very big problem that huge amount of people came to the banks to open accounts, and the majority of the people were not, able to open the accounts because didn't have enough money. Lots of people were just people working in industry, you know, like in the early 80s or 90s of the old century, you know. So the banks starts thinking, okay, we could start having partnership with lawyers, family officers, etc., that can introduce clients to us. And this will go to have like the benefits from the banks that the clients are more profiled because the family officers, the lawyers, etc., already knows the clients and can introduce to the banks the proper clients, you know. And the clients also have the benefits that are better introduced with better benefits, and the application can be accepted in the 99% of the cases and not just in 10 or 20%. So it's very old profession. Today, GloboBanks is a banking introducer. That how it works? Well, you client came to us. We are going to study your profile, your case, because we need to know basic information like your residence, your passport, if you need a corporate account or individual account, your needs with accounts, if you need debit card, if you need the international SEPA, SWIFT account number, if you need a multi-currency, crypto-friendly account, etc. So we need to know a little information about that, and then having the direct access with the directors and the relationship manager with the banks, we can go to talk with the banks directly, with the banks that we know that can fit with your profile, and do like a pre-application. This means that no due diligence begins, but we are going just to ask to the bank, okay, we have this kind of profile of person, like US passport, US citizen with I don't know, like an LLC, and need a corporate account in this jurisdiction to receive international payments. Could you accept this client to your bank? If the bank respond to us positively, we come back to the client and we can propose to you the opening in the bank, you know, so having like the guarantee of the pre-application of the bank. So once you confirm that you want to start with the application, we have a legal team, etc., that is going to ask you all documentation and going to certificate, notarizate, and do everything that is needed to send the proper documentation to the bank. So you client don't have to do nothing. We are going to do everything by us, like introducers. We're going to send the documentation to the banks, and the banks are going to do the due diligence. This is very important because we are just cheers. We are just not we are not banks, so we are not going to do the due diligence. We are just like introducers. So we are going to introduce you. The banks is going to do like the proper due diligence and KYC. And once your account is open, the banks is directly communicate to you your credentials, you know, so username and password to your login to your application. So very easy, you know. We are going to help you understand the best banks and introduce you in the proper bank, make for you the application, and you will have the account open in few days. Usually we can open accounts in up to 2 weeks to 6 weeks, depending on the account, depending on the jurisdictions, you know, because we can also open accounts for some people that maybe are listening to us, like trusts, holding foundations, you know, so like more sophisticated corporate accounts, you know, so the due diligence is a little longer, but we can do it for sure, and take a little more time, but we can find the best way to help you also, you know.
Nice. Tell me about like which jurisdictions you're opening up bank accounts in.
Sure. Talking not in the US, we can work in Caribbean, okay, area. So like some islands like Bahamas, Virgin Islands, etc. South America, like for example Panama, that is very good jurisdiction and is well known like the Switzerland of South America, for example. In Europe, we have banks in Switzerland, in the UK, Liechtenstein, and also the Principate of Monaco. That is very very good for some people that are searching for example, also make private investments, etc., etc. We can open in Middle East, like in the UAE, and then also in Asia we work with Singapore. In Singapore we have very good banks that also are not for everyone, because are very good banks, but you can invest money, you can access to very good benefits. Well, it's like basically like Switzerland, but for the clients that maybe needs more than one account, because you need an individual account for your net worth that maybe is 1 million, 5 million or more, or for your company that maybe generate millions yearly. Our recommendation is to open more than one account. Why? Well, just for asset protection, because having all the money in just one bank and just jurisdiction can be like a little alert for you, because you don't know if in the future the bank can freeze your account for some days and you can't receive money, you can't pay, the people, for example. So it's always better to open more than one account, and we have preferred jurisdictions based on your situation and your needs. And if you need private account to invest money, for example, and to have an interest also on the liquid funds, we can recommend like Switzerland or Panama or Singapore, for example, if you need asset protection, if you need crypto-friendly accounts, etc.
Yeah, very cool. So moving down onto like the credit side of things, the thing about us is that we can't do everything remotely. And so here's one thing that has to be known by everyone. You can open up bank accounts in the United States remotely, like business bank accounts, and in some cases, personal bank accounts. Personal bank accounts, generally, it's preferred to do it in person. But on a credit perspective, the type of solution that we're mostly focused on is helping someone unlock 6 figures or 5 figures in US credit. And we get a lot of our clients that start with the process of getting an ITI, which, by the way, if you don't know, pretty much everyone can get access to this ITIN as long as you're not in some terrorist watch list country. Pretty much you can get an ITIN, which makes you known by the US credit bureaus, which then allows you to actually build credit without being in the US, being a US resident, or paying US taxes. Of course, like everyone has their own tax situation, but most of our clients are paying no US taxes. But the process in terms of like whether you have to travel or not, it's all based on like the outcome that you're looking to achieve, right? So if you're just looking for like net 60, net 30 accounts, and you don't really want to travel, we have certain solutions with credit card companies that allows you to actually have that, where now you don't have to go into like Amazon lending and basically find a specific lender that's going to give you access to like very high interest rate net 60, net 30 accounts. You can pretty much get access to capital with our partners, and you can get net 60 accounts, right? So if you were to think about it like in practice, if you run an e-commerce business, because again, we're not only focused on e-coms, but we're also focused on just multiple different types of business, because most businesses require capital. But if we were to look at it on an e-commerce perspective, pretty much you purchase your inventory, right? And that of course needs to be out of your own pocket, or you can get a net 60, net 30 account. And then after that, you then need to actually pay for ads, right? So that you can get acquisition, right? So that's already costs. And then at the end goal, you sell the client, and then you have to wait about 14 days or 7 days usually to then receive your payments. And that's exactly why that net 60, net 30 accounts type of function essentially helps a lot of people in that industry. But just think about it for the viewers industry, where whatever kind of industry that you're working in, think about it in practice, how much easier it would be to operate if a bank or a credit card company would be able to front the cash on the operating that you're actually doing. And so in many cases, we have to introduce the person into that credit card company because there's trust that's involved, right? If a banking institution or credit card institution wants to give you access to cash, If they have no idea who you are and you just open up a bank account or a credit card, they're probably going to give you access to like the lowest terms and the highest interest rates. But when you get introduced, of course, it's going to be much easier because we already work with six-figure clients that already are spending that amount. So they already have that innate trust with ourselves specifically. So let me ask you a question. Let me find a question, a nice one. All right, so what are some, in terms of like crypto-friendly accounts, is it mostly restricted to Panama, or is there any other jurisdictions that you think would work for some of our clients?
Yeah, for sure. It's not just restricted to Panama. You know, there are many jurisdictions that can manage and handle cryptos, for example, and always depends on like your basic information. You know, because maybe for your company Panama can't work, for example, and we have other banks in other places that can help you. And we have not just fintechs that can manage cryptos, but also physical and real banks. I can make an example. We helped recently a client that had to make a cash out of 100 bitcoins. You know, so we are not talking about little cryptos, but we are talking about a good amount that with a fintech bank, a digital bank, you can't handle. You know, because they don't have the structure to manage all these kind of bitcoins. But yes, anyway, coming back to your question, for sure, there is not only and just Panama. There are different jurisdictions, and always depending if you need just to receive money from your clients, so you need just like a corporate account for your company, or individual accounts. So maybe you need a crypto-friendly account with an internal wallet, because there is a little difference, you know, because crypto-friendly account can be without internal wallet. So this means that the bank can accept money in from exchanges, you know, because for example, Wise, let's make an example. If you try to send money from in fiat value, in fiat currency from Binance, for example, they're going to freeze your account. They don't want to manage anything from crypto, you know. So there are crypto-friendly accounts without internal wallet that is just that you can receive money from exchanges, and there are like crypto-friendly account with internal wallet, so you can also host like a USDT or other cryptos, you know. So always depending on what you're searching for and what are your needs. But yes, anyway. Talking about the credit, etc., I think that credit and international banking are like must for international entrepreneurs, you know, because if you have a company, you work internationally, etc., you want to have the best benefits from your money, etc. The best way you can move is to open international accounts, even if you have, for example, a US LLC, you know, because maybe just for asset protection, or also because your business can increase, not just in the US, but out of US also. You have to receive euros, etc. And it's very important for sure also the credit for the reasons you said, you know, because not just spending money for nothing, but you can have benefits back, you know. And you know very well how it works, for example, for US credit cards and no US credit cards, because can have also different benefits and work in different way.
Yeah, I like to always emphasize like how it works in practice, especially if you have a US credit card, because I'm a Canadian. I've got around like 300K in US credit. We have a lot of our clients that even go beyond that. But essentially like how this works like in practice, if you really think about it, what we help the clients unlock are the highest redemption credit cards, right? So you think about the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Amex Gold. And by the way, a small little side note is that with the Amex Gold, they have a limiter on $150,000 in spend. In many cases, I can actually waive that because we have introductions with American Express, given the fact that they know that like we've got like very good clients that spend a lot. They usually, in many cases, waive that $150,000 cap, right? So you can get access to 4x, right? So for every dollar that you spend on that credit card, you're getting 4 American Express points. Now, a lot of people, and this is kind of like a belief I had in the past, is that points are kind of like coupons, let's say. And so a lot of people have this belief because they had points in their home country. Like I had points in Canada. I spent a lot of money on these credit cards, but I barely had anything in return. But if you were to really think about it in the US perspective, firstly, the value of US points are higher. They have many more different transfer partners, right? So basically, when I had my Canadian credit cards, I can only use these Canadian credit cards for the local airlines, right? So Air Canada or like the different hotels that are local. But with US credit cards, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you travel a lot, you can use these US credit cards and still go on like Singapore Airlines or Qatar or any of the different airlines that you prefer to go to, and you can transfer the points that you've been receiving because you're spending all of that amount, right? If you have a lot of ads that you're spending or inventory that you're spending, you can receive that. And also as well as like staff payments, right? So you can collect points based on the payroll that you have. And so essentially you're getting all of these points, like huge amounts of balances, which by the way, you can either redeem those points as like business class flights or different experiences or go into hotels, or you can pretty much just redeem those points as cash back. And that becomes significant. Like I always like to share this calculator with anyone that gets on a call with me, and I show like, okay, this is what you're at right now. You're probably with a debit card, some Revolut card, or any kind of card that has like very low redemptions or even no redemptions in some cases. And you were to just compare that with the US card, the redemptions and the change is crazy, right? Like it's the difference is visible. Like someone, for example, I had a client that he's basically using a debit card in Lithuania, and he's spending around like $400,000 a month on advertising, right? And so for that client, he was getting nothing in return, versus now that we have him signed, essentially he's on his way to secure the best redemption credit cards, where at this point he's getting around $400,000 worth of points, which can either be redeemed as business class seats or as cashback that can go back as bottom line profit to your own business. So there's a financial reason why anyone would want to access credit. And I'm not even talking about the things such as like funding, right? Like a lot of our clients, they use these credit cards to then purchase properties, or they use these credit cards to then, let's say, invest more into their business. And the cool thing about this is that if a user is hearing this, like you're getting access to $250,000 or $500K in business credit, you can also have that at a 0% interest term, right? So here's the thing. I already told you that you'll get access to 8 times more capital and better redemptions for every dollar that you spend. But the capital that you're getting access to is at a 0% interest for 12 to 24 months. And so just think about it. You're not being charged any interest if you were to invest into a property or invest back into your business with this capital. Basically what happens is that if you have 100K and you spend that 100K on a business credit card in the US as a non-citizen, non-resident, right? You use that credit card to buy a property in the US, or you use that credit card to invest more into your business, or you even buy a property outside of the US, which you can do that, right? Because business credit cards, they will not limit you to certain types of investments. You can put the capital wherever you want. Basically, you've got a 0% interest for a certain amount of months, usually 12 to 24 months. And every month, right, if I spend 100K, the first month that I essentially need to pay off the balance, I will basically only need to pay 1% of the balance, right? So if you spend 100K, all you'll need to do is pay off $1,000, which is 1% of the principal. And there you go. You've basically either got a property, or you're creating an investment that's bringing a return on investment. So a lot of our clients buy Section 8 properties, for example. I have a friend that's buying a property in Chicago, for example. He used his business credit card, and he's a Canadian, by the way. He used his business credit card to buy the property, right? And then essentially that property is now cash flowing, and that cash flow is then paying off the minimum payments for that 100K. And he's not being charged any interest, which is really cool. But moving down to the GloboBanks introductions, I'm just curious on the importance of asset protection, because in my circumstance, of course, I'm focused mostly on credit, right? But for the type of clients that have, let's say, a lot of capital, and they're starting to think about like, how do you protect your assets, right? Because in many cases you might have account shutdowns or some bad thing happens. How does that look like, and why would someone want to like go for asset protection?
For sure, yeah, it's very important to have a asset protection strategy once you start having like a little net worth, because most of people make the mistake of having just one bank, and with all their capital and all their money inside this bank, and this is very bad. Why? because you don't know how banks today works and how they are going to change their policies, because the bank is not going to change their policies just because they want, but also because they depend from, for example, governments and institutions, So from one day to another, bank can just change its policies and these rules and can freeze your account for no reason, for example, close your accounts, block the transfers of money that you can make. So maybe you have 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 100k, all your money on just one account with the account frozen, and you can't do nothing. You can't use your debit card, anything. This is very bad situation, and you can think, oh wow, will never happen to me. But lots of clients come to us because they are like crazy, because in the last few weeks they can't have access of their money, so they ask us, please help me open another bank that can let me work, for example, not just for personal accounts but also corporate, because we used to help, like, for example, a client with a 90 million income yearly. He was using just one bank account. His account was frozen just because a client of him mistaked to text the description of the payment. So the bank blocked the payment and froze all the client account with 90 million revenue yearly. So came to us and wanted to open more than one bank, because he understood once the problem came to create an asset protection. So first of all, the importance of creating an asset protection strategy is because you don't know how bank works, and if tomorrow can block your accounts, even if it's for just 1 week. You can't access to your money for 1 week. It's crazy, So it's very important to understand to open more than one bank. And the fourth mistake that people make is to, for example, differentiate the banks but not the jurisdictions. And this is very also important to differentiate also the jurisdictions, because okay, you can have more than one account in 2 different banks in the same country, okay, but maybe the policies changes in all the country, in all the banks of the same country. So it's very important also to move your money and to move your asset protection strategy in more than one jurisdiction, for example. There are jurisdictions that are better for some clients because have, for example, less minimum deposit, because maybe you have like 100k, your all assets are like 100k. So I can't recommend you to, for example, open accounts, more than one account, one in Switzerland, one in Singapore, one in Monaco Principate, for example, because the minimum deposit, thank you to our introduction, that this is one of the benefits I didn't say it before, because usually in the banks we work with, the minimum deposits and all the fees are higher. But thank you to us that are official introducer of these banks, we can make lower the fees, like monthly fees, etc., and also the deposit. I can make you an example. Some of private banks in Switzerland, if you go you alone in Switzerland to open an account, you have like a minimum deposit that starts from 500k up to 1 million. Thank you to us, can start just from 100k. So you also have these benefits thank you to the introduction of GloboBanks company, for example. Well, coming back to the topic, if you have like 100k of assets, I can't recommend you an account in Switzerland with 100k minimum deposit and a Singapore account. So you have to choose the right jurisdiction on your profile also, and maybe we can choose other jurisdictions and other banks that can open accounts with less deposits, and maybe open just 1 or 2 accounts. But if you have, for example, 10 million or more, or just like a couple of millions of assets, we can open very good accounts in a private section of banks in the best jurisdiction in the world, access to the best products, that is not just credit, for example, but also having a relationship manager, a private relationship manager that can help you to manage and host your investments with the bank. For example, having multi-currency, so you can having money in US dollars, in euros, you can have an interest on the liquid money, on the funds that you are not going to invest, and other benefits.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, so lower deposits, and on the asset protection side of things, you're just thinking about how to put money into multiple jurisdictions, which basically gives you that security that, like, if you have all of your money in one jurisdiction and then some rule changes that they don't serve certain types of clients, then you'll be fine because you have your cash as well in a different jurisdiction, and you'll need to sort out what happens in that one jurisdiction. But
Yeah, that's correct, because maybe in Switzerland can change some rules and you have some of your money in Switzerland, but in Singapore, no, not. So maybe your bank in Switzerland can give you little problem. It's just an example to understand, you know. But in Singapore, no. So you don't have just one bank and you can't access to all your money. You differentiated your money, you know. You splitted your money in more than one account, and if one of these have problems, you can access to your money with another account, and you can spend your money, you can receive payments, you know, you can do everything that you could do every day, you know. So yeah, for sure is very important asset protection, and usually is not very understood from international entrepreneurs, even for corporate accounts and even for individual needs, you know.
okay, so we touched on crypto friendly. We touched on why you guys got started. And how bank introductions work. What kind of clients do you guys generally help? I know, of course, like high net worth individuals, but do you guys limit yourself to different types of industries, or?
Well, the majority of our clients are from specific niches or businesses, but a very important thing of working with more than 60 bank institutions is that we can also manage and help people, for example, that are managing like high risk businesses, you know, because we have banks that maybe can't accept metals, gold, or oil businesses, or like forex, or adult market, etc. You know, but we always have options of banks that can open accounts also for this kind of companies, you know, that is even harder to open by yourself, because if you have a normal risk business, today is difficult and hard to open it and to do the application online with some banks, because you have to send the proper documentation, you have to be very careful of giving them, share with them the right information, the right history, etc. But if you have an high risk business, is even harder, you know. So we can also help you to understand everything. For sure, it's very important to do the discovery call with us. That is very important because you have to share with us what you do with your business, etc., to understand, to let us understand where we can introduce you in the proper bank. And this is also for individual accounts, because you know, there are some people and some passports or residencies that today are not well seen by the banks, you know, like for example the Iranian passport is very bad seen from banks all over the world, but we can also help you. And we had lots of clients from Iran that we helped open like personal and individual accounts in different banks with the same benefits of all other banks, you know, so physical banks with debit card, with account number, relationship manager, etc. So yeah, for sure. Usually we work with international entrepreneurs of e-commerces or also physical businesses, etc. Usually are like little high clients, you know, because they understand the need of having a big bank instead of a freelance that maybe is generating like 5-10K a month, don't understand very well the proper benefits of having a good bank, even if we recommend to these people also to have like a good bank and not using accounts like, I don't want to mention them, like Wise and these kind of banks, you know, because even if you are like a little freelancer, can freeze your accounts, close your accounts, etc. So it's very important for them also. But usually we help bigger clients open international banks, and even if in high-risk businesses or blacklist or sanctioned countries with their passport or residence, for example.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's that's nice, and being able to like open up accounts with people in different with different passports, especially the Iranian. That's interesting. Yeah, because in many cases, on a credit perspective, we can't generally work with people that have like, let's say, passports in North Korea or like different other locations. Because in many cases, right, like you're establishing an identity in the US credit system, and ideally you want to have a good passport that backs that in. Here's an interesting thing as well. Even though you might not be from, let's say, a more preferable country, with a lot of our clients, we're able to secure US ID. And so a lot of people, they don't understand the process that, like, if you go to the bank, for example, because many of our clients, to establish credit, especially the good credit cards, we can do things remotely, right? But I'm not here to say that you're going to get the best credit products in the US. If you do travel and you meet our team in Miami, because of course we've got a location over there, pretty much you'll essentially be able to secure US based ID. And that all depends on the type of visa that you're entering into the US with. But most of our clients that have ESTA or like the H1B visas, they're also able to secure US based ID and then open up their accounts with that specifically, which is pretty interesting. On a credit perspective also, you said that you're able to also open up Amex Black Centurions. Now, the thing is that we're able to open up Black Centurions in the US, but of course the deposit is very high, right? So you're most likely going to need to put $10 million in a Chase Business Bank account. But for the Black Centurions that you guys can open, what does that look like? Because I know it's in Switzerland.
Yeah, that's correct. We have also these kinds of service that we can provide to our clients. Just a little note about the topic of the before topic, is credit institutions, I think, works like pretty similar of banks, and you also are an introducer in the credit side, like us in the banking, for example. And sometimes, usually when you go alone to a credit institution or to a bank with like a sanctioned passport, etc., banks usually and the credit institution also don't want to have problems. It's for this that once they start the due diligence and they see not so good information, they're going to decline like in 2 minutes your applications, because most of the banks today works with automation. So it's not a physical person that is going to do the due diligence, but it's like just an AI, that is going to check all the details. And if they see like Iranian passport, is like a red flag, and they're going to block your account. And being introduced by like our company or your company in with the right help of GloboBanks or you, for example, and your team in the proper banks, this led to having like a better chance and to see these red flags like green flags, because the application are not managed by an AI, but by person, by people, real people. So this is also a better benefits of being consulted by this kind of company like the ours, So yes, coming back to the American Express Black, we know very well that also in the US you can have the chance to access to it. Just a little introduction of it for the people that maybe doesn't know it. The American Express Black Centurion, is like the most prestigious credit card in the world, and usually you can't access to it because you can't make the application online like the gold or the platinum, because it's like just by invitation, so American Express can invite you if you are a client of American Express from many years. You spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars, for example, yearly, but there are some ways like the US one to deposit 10 millions, for example, on Chase, that you can access to it even if you never been American Express client, for example. We manage American Express Black in some other countries, like for example in Switzerland, and the requirements are a little lower because we just have to open a private bank, a very big and important account in one of the best banks in Switzerland, and you have to deposit just $1 million. Okay, so not 10 million, just 10 times less. You can deposit $1 million and we can guarantee you the American Express Black Centurion in Switzerland, for example. And it's also even better because you can have the yearly fees, for example, are lower, have very good also benefits with companies where you can spend the points, So yeah, it's a good product, and to people that can access to it because the only requirements is 1 million, they usually love it because you can also access to private network of just people that owns an Amex Black, So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, because when you have the Centurion, you can then network with all the other people and that have the card. Just like if you buy a Ferrari, you'll have the Ferrari group or whatever. Same thing goes with the credit cards. And as well as like when you go on flights as well, like one thing about having the credit card, I know that like within the last few years, a lot of people have gotten access to like American Express Platinums or the different types of like Sapphire credit cards, which in my opinion, a lot of people have those types of cards. If you get into the Centurion lounge, then of course you'll be let's say a bit more limited, and there's gonna be less people in there. Because I know that in the U.S. airports, there's like basically in many of these places during the high times, a lot of people end up going into these lounges. So if you have the black card, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the questions that I have for you. If maybe like we're gonna at the very end of this call, what we're gonna do is just basically suggest people to book a call with either myself or with Matteo. And essentially, if you're interested in any of the services, either if you want to access US credit, access around $250,000 in US credit, or build up your personal credit, access like net 30, net 60 accounts, which definitely helps a lot. Then of course you can book a call with my team. And if you want to book a call to open up bank accounts globally, I think that would be a really good solution, even for my clients right now that don't want their money just to be in the US or in like a Dubai company or whatever that may be. An interesting thing as well is that if you have US credit, right, you also want to strategize on how to send money outside the US, right? So it would be cool to have a bank account in a preferred jurisdiction as you scale, right? So I think that's it for my questions. Did you have anything else you want to ask?
I think we had a very good, we shared very good information for the people that are going to see the video. And yeah, for sure, they can, we can leave the link below of, book a call with you or for the credit side with me and my team for the banking side. If you want to share also how you work, our way of work is very easy because you can just book your call and we can give for free for you like a free consultation. That is the first discovery call to understand your profile, your needs, etc. And with this information we can do the pre-application, so we can go to check with the banks if we can help you and open for you the accounts. And once we have the pre-application, we come back to you and make another call where we are going to share the bank name, the bank information, and our fees also. That usually, just for information, we are going to cover a fixed fee, okay, for the bank introduction and the bank opening, and everything is included. So you just have to share with us your documentation. Our legal team is going to certificate everything, send them to the bank, and in 2 up to 6 weeks, you will have the account open with all the account number and everything to do, the debit card, etc. And you can use your account. So you can just click on the link down below of GloboBanks and book a consultation with our team, and they are going to help you with the free consultation.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, anyone can book a call as well, like on our link, and you'll be able to talk to one of our representatives. They know a lot about credit. A lot of my representatives, they have their own US credit cards, which is very cool to see. Even one of my representatives, he actually has a property in the US, which is very interesting. So they themselves have their own stack of credit cards, let's say, which is cool to see. So I think that's pretty much it for the call. It was really productive, and yeah, thanks for taking this.
Thank you to you, Jean-Paul, and let's see you next time for sure.